Everything is sunshine and rainbows over at the FOMC. The Fed is not raising rates. They're not cutting rates. We're going to stand pat for a little bit. Meanwhile, Big Dick Jerome out there sounds happy as a clam. We'll be discussing all of that and much more today on Money Never Sleeps. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that lovely FOMC presser if you were watching it. Before we get going today, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. Nothing Kevin or I say is financial advice, so please do your own research for making any sort of buys or sells. Kevin, FOMC, not raising rates. It's going to stay right where it is. We see a revision up in GDP, so things are strong as ever. Meanwhile, Jay Powell, he just sounded so happy today. Was just incredibly dovish. I was saying on Twitter, may have gotten a Hummer before he went to the podium, probably why he was late. What are your thoughts on the FOMC decision? And then we can get into what Jay Powell said and how it's going to impact the markets moving forward. Spoiler alert, they're liking it so far.
Decision is fine. Not what I would have personally have done. I think that's their, again, I just don't think they want to acknowledge what comes next. But, if you're not going to raise rates, then keep it as is. I think he's a little bit too happy, a little too light in the loafers today for how he was pretty much explaining everything. It was very giddy. I don't like the way that he explained a lot of things too. It was a lot of flippy floppy. I can't remember what Chris said. Chris said something about they're non-committal about being non-committal, and I'm like, that's just a great way to fucking put it. I think it makes no sense how you could be so dovish, but then also not commit to fucking, cutting rates or giving a timeline for that. Because either you're dumb or you're smart. And the end result is the same. So they're probably just either trying not to acknowledge it or they're just actively acknowledging it that, we hope you guys keep buying this market. We hope you guys feel strong about the economy, even though manufacturing is dropping, by the month. People are getting laid off every single day. We have another 40,000 so far in the month of March, I believe. But, the economy's strong. So I'm just going to keep rates as is, and we're going to just talk dovishly.
A few things that the markets really liked hearing from Jerome Powell was around the labor market and how a sudden tightening in the labor market could warrant a policy move, aka cutting rates. We also heard that another thing the market really liked was around the Fed's balance sheet and saying that the slowing the reduction of the balance sheet is possible soon. The markets loved each of those. When he started speaking, I was watching the NASDAQ and the SPY, and SPX on TradingView, and everything was pretty flat for the day. And then he started talking, and he said those two things, and it was off to the races. We see the NASDAQ up 1% now on the day. We see tech pretty much green across the board. Crypto had a nice rebound. A lot of tokens sold off today, and we'll talk about why with ETH here in a bit. But crypto is rebounding. We got Bitcoin back over 65K after going as low as looks to be like 60, under 61 earlier. It was under 61 earlier. So the markets really loved what Jerome had said today in his presser. I mean, I don't really know at this point. I don't know. There's still they just kind of go back and forth on a lot of this stuff, man. And the inflation numbers, I got to go back and double check. I thought what he said, I thought he had an inaccurate number in there, but I may be wrong. But a lot of the data is still showing that this is not as good as they're painting it out to be. Anything else that he said in the amount of time that you listened to it, which I'm sure wasn't too long, jump out at you?
I listened to the whole damn thing, and I loved to torture myself. I think it's just wild that, again, everyone that's asking questions and Jerome Powell, have no idea where this inflation is coming from. They keep on saying it's because the economy's strong. It's not. It's not fucking hard. All you have to do is look at the oil charts. They're cutting supply, so therefore, demand has to meet that supply, able to raise the prices, and that's going to bleed into every single sector of the economy. It's very simple. Inflation is 100% only came back because of oil. And these fuckers are thinking that, it could get worse. It could get, price of goods could keep going up. It's like, once you start cutting rates and people start losing their jobs, that oil number is going to just fall off a cliff, right? They're just kind of playing chicken with it right now, seeing, maybe if we keep rates up here long enough, it'll kind of taper off, and then we could have a soft landing. I mean, he didn't even say soft landing. I should take that back. At the beginning, he said that things could definitely change. I think they've kind of taken away the language way of soft landing recently. So that's one thing I did notice. But for the most part, I think these people are either clueless and they know exactly what they're doing. And obviously, those are the only two things you could fucking have in this situation. But I think more or less is they understand what they're doing.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see about all that. Anything else around what Jay Powell had to say? Then we can get into crypto, kind of talk about the latest ETH news and if that is going to really carry any weight moving forward.
No, let's just, before we get into the crypto stuff though, just look at two things real quick. I wanted to show up the TLT, which is the bonds, because obviously a lot of stuff moved off of him talking today. You can see that the dollar absolutely got rejected off this, right up here. It shot up, got rejected below the 50 moving average in the daily once again. A lot of people saying death of the dollar. But the funny thing about it is, obviously, if the rate stayed elevated here, the dollar probably should have rallied. But people are trying to price in things before they could even price other things in. So obviously, it's going to react twice as much. But this is really interesting here. This level of this white line, make this a little bit bigger.
There's a lot going on there.
Just worry about this, big. What color is Jerome Powell? We'll say this big purple line going across here. You break that, then you're breaking up in the DXY. Right now, we keep finding this. We keep testing this as resistance. I don't know, man. I think that we're going to break out of this thing fairly soon. We got inverted head and shoulders down here. I'm pretty sure that coming months, we're probably going to see this higher than 107 at some point. FOMC days are just manipulated, can fucking be, and that's kind of the reason why we're seeing that. Same thing with the VIX. Volatility is so suppressed; it went below this trend line, but at the same time, it's kind of holding this support from here, kind of this one too. So I mean, we could even maybe do that. Again, trend lines are trend lines; they can change as things evolve. But it seems like people are definitely taking advantage of VIXpiration, which is the trading the contracts on VIX options, which I believe expired today, and we see that a lot of people are probably in the money now, shorting volatility once again because it's the easiest fucking trade in the world to do. Stupid, makes no sense. TLT, this is the one I really want to talk about because this is one that a lot of people are thinking that we're going to be higher for longer. A lot of bears are saying we're going to be higher for longer. However, the formation of this is telling me that we're in a bull flag, and it's very possible we come down to about $89 or so per share of TLT, which is, the 20-year treasury bond. But at that case, I do think that there is a good chance that we could find that is the bottom of this move and we could push up a little bit higher. This looks like a bull flag to me. I think that we did bottom with the TLT back here in October when they started going super freaking dovish, and clearly everything's changed since. But I think this is going to be another push to the upside. We're going to see if this is just an ABC corrective pattern or if this is a 5-wave move of the first A wave. It's going to be interesting to see, but I think a lot of people are discounting this one. It's something that we're going to have to watch because it's not something that a lot of people are going to talk about as we're hearing this dovish news from the Fed. So that's all I wanted to cover real quick on the stuff that relates to Jerome Powell and some of the FOMC minutes, not minutes, but the FOMC decision and Powell's presser. For outside of that, where do you want to head for today? Do you want to do Bitcoin?
Let's do Bitcoin. Let's talk about ETH as well with, the news that it's once again being looked at as a potential security because, we've never done this song and dance before.
It's my favorite song and dance. Gary Gensler for the win. I know that pissed off a lot of people, me just saying that right now. But hey, man, when you're bearish on the market, you're the enemy of your enemy is your friend. But yeah, let's look at this right here. This is BTC USD, major pullback. The funny thing is, I think I sent it out early this morning, or maybe it was late last night. Tether printed like $2 billion worth of USDT. hilarious. It was like right on fucking time. Coming down here, we went as low as 60,000. What is this? The low today, 60,750, and this is on Coinbase, so it's a little bit different on Binance and some of the other exchanges. I think it was BitMEX had it as low as 8,950. So I was right. Me and Capo were right, guys. But yeah, on the actual exchanges, not the Tether fraud ones or other exchanges like BitMEX, we're looking at this and we see that it had a pretty good bounce. We didn't get as low as the 50 moving average. I want to see us touch that. That would be, a pretty good level of support and see if that holds. Yeah, obviously we have a wick down here too, from Tuesday, March 5th, when you had that flash crash down to about 59,000. I think that we are going to test this once again, this 50 moving average. From there, maybe we have a bit of a move to the upside. I think it's going to be a lower high, just in my personal opinion. And just looking at this fractal here, I just want everyone to keep an eye on this. This is the move from 74,000 or so down to 60,000. So what is that, $14,000 or so? 17%. I saw that Altcoin Daily was saying that 17% pullback is normal in a bull market. Co-parter, guys. But looking back here to where we were in November 2021, I just want to pull back this and see if this is lining up at all. But it looks like a very similar pattern to me. Maybe this is a little bit deeper here. This is 22%. But what I'm seeing is we have a height, and then we have days that kind of come back down, and then we have another day that pushes up pretty high. I would say right here. Maybe I lost it right here. Oh, it's right up here. Yeah, it's exactly right where the price is right now. So even less than that. So we can say that we went down about 10% back in November of 2021, and then we bounced up. And where we are now, this green line that's horizontal is literally to the candle of where it was, where it bounced up. So this was kind of this wave 1, wave 2 bounce, and then we had a wave 3 pushing down. We want to see what happens here, right? If we obviously push up to a double top, it kind of changes the trajectory of what Bitcoin is going to do. But I think there is a good chance that we could find some resistance right around here, 66,372. I mean, we're not too far off from it. We're up 5.61%. Obviously, shot up a lot since Jerome Powell started talking. But I do think that we could find some resistance in that area. And if that does serve as resistance, then we're probably going to be coming down a little bit lower, probably to that 58. Maybe we get a bounce from there. But there's also one other thing I do want to kind of show on here. And some people are pointing it out right here is, let me see if I can pull this up. Or is it not this one? Maybe it's this one. Yeah. Some people are saying we have a head and shoulders pattern here, and we're waiting just for that right shoulder, and then we'll come down and break through maybe to like the 200. I see that definitely. I also see it as this. Break this, come here. I see a bigger head and shoulders pattern like this. Probably coming down to about 50,000 where we say there's a lot of liquidity, maybe a bounce up higher. And then we break down from there. So kind of ugly, kind of a big one. I mean, you can even say that's a cock and balls pattern, right? Because that head is so high up. But, at some point when it does break, you're going to see that this could have been easily a head and shoulders pattern. Just the way it's rising on the upside, on the way up, and it's the way it's coming down on this side, seems like they're very similar patterns. And we could see that steepness where we get to that 50,000 where there's tons of liquidity. People go long for a little bit, find some resistance, and then you come back to this neckline and you break through it. Next level of support after that neckline is probably somewhere around 43 to 42, probably where the 200 EMA will be. So interesting stuff on Bitcoin there. We can take a look at ETH now because I haven't kept up with the price action all day. All I know is that Gary Gensler was saying that ETH might be a security now, or they're going to fight it that way. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like I had a pretty good pullback earlier, right? What was it down earlier? Today
it was down. It got way down there.
Pull up on the daily.
Yeah, it got down to like under 3,100.
Oh, nice.
Like 3,061, 53 ish. Say 3,060 for the sake of argument is kind of where I'm seeing it.
Yeah, it's interesting there. Again, this is that's steep for Ethereum in the past few days where it's just coming down, right? That news, I guess, kind of maybe brought in the bottom, and then people are starting to buy it back up. The rally, obviously, with Jerome Powell and a lot of things, but it seems like people are still buying these dips on a lot of these coins, right? Whether it's ETH.
Well, BlackRock did put $100 million of USDC into a wallet that they're going to use to buy ETH. So,
did they buy it yet?
Nope. Maybe they did now. Maybe. See, I think it was all. Here's my conspiracy theory. Uncle Larry there. It's all a ruse. He called in a favor They were bearish, and this report came out. It dropped the price of ETH, and they just scooped it on up right there.
I wish they would just announce a stupid fucking thing or not announce it, or Gary Gensler goes to war with it, and we pretty much just get some clarity at this point, because it seems like they're just going to try and milk the tit of liquidity out of this market as much as they can with all these fucking ETFs. What's next? The freaking the Doge
Solana
ETF?
ETF, the Sol
Solana?
ETF is going to be the third one.
Yeah, I mean,
Can't
even
wait.
Solana. Look at Solana. This bounce back today, right? So we're starting to see some of these things bounce. I want to pull up this USDT dominance. I talked about it on Friday briefly, but just want to show everybody what happens in history. I'm going to go to the weekly because the weekly is a little bit easier to see everything. So this is where we are right now, right? This is March 2024. Obviously, you can see that it's bounced up a little bit today. This week, obviously, Bitcoin's dropped $14,000 in the past few days, so that makes sense. But back here in October 2021, the height of Bitcoin, right? 69,000 or something like that, 2021. That's where it bottomed. It bounced right off that trend line. Where are we right here? Where is this? March of 2021, April of 2021. If I remember, there was a summer crash that brought Bitcoin from like 64,000 or something like that down to 28,000. And then that finally led us into the $69,000 Bitcoin that we got back in October 21. And then, even down here, this is a fun one too. Here it is right here. Let me see if I can get this. That is February 2020. So this trend line has some pretty significant importance, in my opinion. And seeing the fact that we're down here again, we could be here down for weeks before we finally start to move up. But if this starts to hold a support, and we can see that on the weekly, we have plenty of room to the upside, and on the monthly, we got plenty of room to the upside. Well, then we could be in some trouble if history has repeated itself in the past and this holds true. The thing is, too, is we know that Tether is an extremely dangerous method in which the market can be easily manipulated. And I hate to say it, but I mean, this could show just the history of manipulation throughout, all of crypto. You can see that Bitcoin's price is easily manipulated, or there is some correlation between, the stablecoin dominance and Bitcoin's price. But these are all key, huge drops in the market. Whenever you start to break, you find support here. What comes next is always, extremely negative. So this is something we're going to have to keep an eye on. I think it's going to end up spiking again. You don't come here often. You didn't come here since December 2021 all the way till now, March of 2024. So at some point, I think we're going to see us reject from this trend line or bounce from it and start heading up. And that's going to be pretty negative for the crypto and alt market, in my opinion. So something that I just want to keep an eye on as we move forward.
All right. Not much else when it comes to TradFi. I mean, things are still, we're on a Powell rally to end the day. NASDAQ up 1.16% now after being flat. I want to pull up like the hourly real quick. I mean, it was flat and like kind of stair stepping down throughout the morning. And then boom, you get the Powell and FOMC green candles moving it up, in the span of 2 hours, we get a decent move to the upside there. So TradFi, pretty boring overall. Anything else in the crypto world catching your attention? Otherwise, we can wrap this bad boy up.
Yeah, nothing in crypto necessarily. I did want to show this on the S&P. This is kind of where we've been since October of 2023. Missile. Man, that's an ascending triangle, and we were closing outside of it for the a couple of days there. Or just one day, it looks like Friday we were closing out of it, and today we went straight to the top of that channel. I'd be fucking surprised if this thing starts closing above this ascending triangle. I'd be absolutely shitting my pants at that point. And I'm being, facetious here to the point where I'm just trying to have fun. But it just seems like every time we hit the top of this damn thing, it just gets rejected down. But you're coiling up to a point where it's very dangerous. Let's pull up the Bollinger Bands. See, that's the other thing too. Bollinger Bands are starting to tighten up here a little bit. You're above it right now, but you can see that this one is starting to curl up. I talked about it a while ago. That's the EMAs. We haven't touched the EMAs in such a period of time, probably since November. Yeah, November we haven't touched them. So it's been a few months. Whereas when you look at 2021, you were touching it every few days, right? I mean, the most you had was probably from like July to August, but at least you were coming back to test it. You have not tested it one bit at all here. So there's a lot of things that are just absolutely sketchy right now. Stochastic RSIs, if you can look at the weekly and the monthly, obviously they're 99 and 99 on the weekly, monthly 196, right? So it's the most overbought, close to being the most overbought on the monthly that you can possibly get from this thing, and volatility is so significantly low, and at the same time rates are still 5.5. It's a recipe for disaster. I just don't know when it's going to get right. All these things are adding up to something that no one is necessarily anticipating, and it's going to get really dangerous when it starts to go, because then the pressure isn't going to be to the upside. If people know that they can't keep pushing it up, they can't keep buying the dips, and it's not going to keep going up. It's going to be interesting, but it's kind of hard to say that today when you are hitting all-time highs in the S&P off of dovish tone from Jerome Powell. But it is, if we want to look at this technically, which I haven't been doing recently, you are hitting the top of this thing, and at some point you're going to get to the apex, and when that apex pops, it's probably not going to pop to the upside. It's probably going to be to the downside. Who's going to be the reason that comes down? I'm going to say the banks, but what do I know, right? If the banks do collapse, though, it's going to be absolutely crazy. You talked about the CLOs yesterday. I'm starting to see that in tons of articles now. We talked about it 3 weeks ago. Now everyone's talking about it. Everyone's doing YouTube videos.
I think we talked about it longer than that. Like we've been on this for a long time.
I think we did a specific show though about CLOs, but we definitely brought it up in the past. Months ago probably, when we were talking about all these stupid banks and all their loans. But it ain't great. I hate to say it. I've been saying it forever. I'll keep saying it to the day I die, until this market does finally give out. But looking at this, I think it's a more dangerous situation than you would have saw in 2008. And the reason I say that is because they were cutting rates and the market was kind of reacting to bad data. Now the market's just not reacting to any data at all. It's just doing whatever it wants. And that's a dangerous market to kind of to navigate.
The scary thing that I'm trying to come to terms with right now is what the fuck to do with my money. Like I have my crypto, and I'm kind of I'm getting myself set up there. I'm kind of like doing a spring cleaning right now when it comes to my crypto holdings, and just getting everything in cold store, like rearranged in cold storage. I'm kind of paranoid, and so I'm going to move it to like a new wallet soon, blah blah blah. But like, what the fuck do I do with my money that I don't want to keep in crypto right now? And that's kind of a scary thing when we do have these concerns around banks. And you know what? Maybe we're just dead ass wrong, and there's not a single thing to be worried about.
Right,
maybe,
right?
But I don't want to plan for that. So I'm just sitting here like, what the fuck do I do with my money? Because I don't trust Jamie fucking Dimon and Chase Bank. But right now, that's my best option. I sure as hell don't trust a regional bank because, we've discussed that in the past. So it's one of those things like, do I just keep gold? Oh, yeah. The latest meme coin narrative is base. Well, no, I think it's because I think this is on their network of base, and a big part of it was like all the meme coin madness that was going on today.
I don't know, man. Coinbase can't be having all these problems. You fix your shit, right? You're a fucking publicly traded company, and a lot of your investors can't fucking manage their funds at all when you do this shit. What does that remind me of? It reminds me of Solana. Blackouts. I'm not saying
it went down again yesterday.
It's just fucking hilarious. And again, I completely agree with you. I'm sitting in cash. I got my money spread across a few banks just to be safe. Again, I have shorts on those banks too, so if anything does fucking happen, I'm well hedged. But this is a very dangerous place right now.
You're gonna print on those shorts, and then you're gonna have nowhere to put that fucking money.
Yeah, fucking. I'll just throw it in the BNB. That's the only thing that's going up in this market faster than everything else. 40% returns. But yeah, right now, it's very dangerous. You'd be an idiot to buy up here, in my opinion. Again, not financial advice one bit, but I would call myself an idiot if I was buying the S&P up in here, if I was buying Bitcoin up here. I think it's just kind of that thing where you have to be patient, do less, and if you don't want to necessarily keep your money in the banks, kind of treasury bills are safe. I think a lot of people are going to be flocking to them, so those rates might be going away fairly soon. No one sees that though, because Jerome Powell is talking about rates cutting. But if you cut to zero, you're going to see those rates drop significantly. That's the other thing too. Let's talk about that real quick, and then we can wrap this up.
1 year, the 1 year is below below 5, just barely.
I'm so wired
But
right
we've
now because
seen
I just thought about it. These fucking banks, these regional banks, these big banks were buying these treasury bills at the bottom when rates were zero during COVID because they got so much free money and they just put it and they put it in the freaking T bills and they freaking were suffering in SIVB. Like, oh, we were stupid. We didn't know what to fucking do, so we just put it in the T bills and now the rates are going up and we need to get out
what
because everyone.
voice is that? What are you?
That's my bank voice. I just don't have my monocle to go with it. Oh, here's my monocle. No, but you're having too much fun. But yeah, the banks,
Go ahead. Go.
as the rates are staying this elevated, problem. I mean, it's no different than what the problem was in 2023. These idiots are still underwater, and these things are going to come to maturity, or they're not. Right? The problem is just continuing to cycle itself over and over again. The debt markets are screaming this exactly. I mean, the fact that banks are offloading bad debt at a major loss, or there is just losses that they're not showing because they're hold to maturity, more like high to maturity, just so people don't realize the unrealized losses they have on some of these things. Rates stay high, these banks are still underwater. You're going to start to see it, boil to the top. But right now, that shit just pissed me off. The fact that he's acting like no one asked any questions about the banks today, too. That's the other thing. Very few questions are, kind of meaningful questions about them. For Loco episode, I agree. I agree. I've never had one. Let's do it though.
Dude, it's been many, many, many years since I had a Four Loco. That shit was when I was in college, that shit was poison. You would drink 2 of those and wake up in the ER. Like, it was absolutely insane. All right, that is going to do it for today. We will do a Four Loco episode at some point. I was saying, if they want to make these pressers more fun and people actually want to watch them, you and I go in there with a 6-pack of Four Loco and a microphone, and we just fire away at Jay Powell and ask him questions. That would be throw a shoe at him. All right, that's gonna do it for today. Appreciate people who are joining us today. Chris, Leroy, everyone watching the replay. Appreciate you. We'll not be back tomorrow. I will be out the rest of the week because it's the NCAA tournament and I'm a degenerate. But Kevin will be back on Friday to some extent, and then I'll be back on Monday. So appreciate everybody for joining us. Hit that like button, subscribe, comment, share us out, all that good stuff. Stay safe in the markets. Don't get fucked. We'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone. Good advice.